From back roads to beach roads, highways to byways, bike trails to tree-lined streets, motorcyclists are enjoying the sunshine our great state has to offer. But every day, they are putting their lives at great risk. We lead the nation with more motorcycle rider deaths than any other state. Let's do our part to make a positive impact on the safety of our motorcycle drivers. For safer roads, one bike at a time. The driving landscape has dramatically changed in recent years, and it continues to transform quickly as motorcycle manufacturers are constantly designing and building new models of 2- and 3-wheeled vehicles. The definitions they use for motorcycles, mopeds, and scooters don't quite sync up with Florida law. That makes it hard to stay ahead of the newest licensing requirements and driving laws designated for motorcycles, mopeds, and motorized scooters. We'd like to arm you with some important information that will enlighten you about the complexities of Florida law when it comes to enforcing traffic violations related to different types of vehicles. If you have a better grasp on these laws now, you can begin to make a difference on our roadways tomorrow. All of you working together can reduce Florida's motorcycle crash problem, a growing concern that is getting worse. According to DHSMV statistics, since 1999, the number of motorcycle crashes and motorcyclists injured or killed has been steadily rising. We've more than doubled the amount of crashes alone, from 4,451 to 9,618 in 2008. Compared to 3,969 injuries in 1999, there were nearly triple that, 8,519 in 2008. And 156 people died in 1999. Triple that number, 502 dead in 2008. Even though motorcycles represent just over 4% of registered vehicles in Florida, nearly 18% of all fatalities were motorcycle drivers and their passengers. In fact, per vehicle mile traveled, motorcyclists are about 35 times more likely to die in a traffic crash than passenger car occupants. That's a scary number.
I got two of them doing wheelies at 95 miles an hour.
Here's another frightening statistic from 2007. 1 out of every 4 motorcycle drivers in fatal crashes was riding with an invalid license. Ensuring motorcyclists are properly licensed for the class of bike they are riding is the first step to preventing this kind of tragedy.
Okay, for going in and out of traffic, not signaling, changing lanes.
Here are the facts. Under Florida Statute Chapter 322, a motorcycle is defined as having not more than 3 wheels in contact with the ground and excludes a tractor and a moped. It must have a seat or saddle for use by the rider. And here is a key differentiator to check if the rider is properly licensed. Motorcycles displace more than 50 cc's. At minimum, motorcycle drivers must possess a Class E operator license with a motorcycle endorsement. If not, it is a criminal violation. If you see a license saying motorcycle only, the driver has taken and passed the motorcycle training course, but has not taken and passed the automobile driving test. At minimum, Class E licenses with motorcycle endorsements and motorcycle-only licenses allow drivers to ride both 2- and 3-wheel bikes. If you see a special restriction, it may be for 3-wheeled motorcycles only, and the driver cannot operate a 2-wheel bike because his or her training was only for 3-wheeled bikes. All other vehicles that are 50 cc's or less and mopeds are all considered motor vehicles, and drivers must possess at least a valid Class E license to ride them. The moped is only subject to this license requirement if the motor is engaged. If it is operated solely by human power, no license is required. When it comes to the rules of the road in Chapter 316, the vehicle definitions we just discussed change. Motorcycles are now not subject to the cc displacement of 50 or more. In fact, no cc displacement is listed. They are defined as any 2- or 3-wheel vehicle with seat or saddle excluding the moped. Other vehicles are defined as mopeds and motorized scooters. Mopeds have pedals, seats, or saddles for the drivers, no more than 3 wheels in contact with the ground, and no clutches or manual gear shifts. They are rated not in excess of 2 brake horsepower, and they are not capable of going more than 30 miles an hour on level ground, and they displace no more than 50 cc's. Motorized scooters have no seats or saddles, no more than 3 wheels in contact with the ground, and are not capable of going more than 30 miles an hour on level ground. Different driving laws apply to each class of vehicle according to these definitions. First, moving violations associated with motorcycles. Headlights must be turned on while in operation on streets or highways. During daytime hours, headlights are permitted to modulate from high to low intensity, but not to flash. Motorcycles cannot be driven more than 2 abreast in a single lane of traffic, and absolutely cannot be driven between lanes of traffic or rows of vehicles. License plates must be permanently attached and not capable of being flipped up. They cannot have a device that could obscure or conceal the tag. Motorcycle operators cannot carry anything that prevents them from keeping both hands on the handlebars. If a passenger is riding on a motorcycle, he or she must be on a seat designated for a second person or a separate regular seat permanently attached to the rear or beside the operator. Passengers may not ride in a position to interfere with the vision of the operator. Here are some non-moving violations associated with motorcycles. A motorcycle cannot have handlebars or hand grips that are higher than the top of the shoulder of the operator while he or she is regularly seated. Operators cannot drive wearing a headset. The headset can be installed in a helmet as long as the speakers do not directly contact the driver's ears. Motorcycles must be equipped with footrests for passengers unless the person is in a sidecar. There are specific moving violations associated with mopeds and motorized scooters. For example, mopeds and motorized scooters cannot be operated on a sidewalk or bike path when their motors are engaged. Motorized scooters absolutely cannot be driven upon roadways, even with a valid Class E license, because they do not meet the equipment and registration requirements of the law. Businesses are required to notify customers of these restrictions before they purchase a motorized scooter. You should also be aware that there are several violations associated with motorcycles that are specifically designed for off-road use. Even if an operator has the required driver's license, a number of violations occur if the bike is operated on Florida roadways. Here are just a few. Certain violations do carry enhanced penalties. If the driver does not keep both wheels on the ground, staying seated, facing forward with one leg on each side of the bike, and if the driver does not permanently mount his license plate so that it is not capable of becoming flipped up, there are serious penalties. These are also in effect if a driver is cited for speeding more than 50 miles an hour over the posted speed limit. They include a $1,000 fine for the first offense, $2,500 for the second offense, and a third-degree felony for the third offense. If a driver is cited for speeding more than 30 miles an hour over the posted speed limit, a mandatory court appearance is required. Driving while impaired is also a serious concern. In 2007, a higher percentage of motorcyclists in fatal crashes had blood alcohol concentration levels of 0.08 or higher more than any other type of driver. As you all probably know, DUI laws are enforced the same for any motor vehicle in Florida. But please be aware that there are some good detection clues to look for specific to motorcycle operation. We encourage you to download the brochure on this DVD regarding the detection of DWI motorcyclists. When it comes to helmets, Florida motorcyclists must wear a securely fastened helmet that complies with US DOT standards unless they are over 21 with at least $10,000 in medical insurance, or they are riding in an enclosed cab, or their bikes displace 50 cc's or less with no more than 2 brake horsepower, and their bikes are not capable of speeds greater than 30 miles an hour on level ground. A special tag that states under 21 is a tool to help you realize when a helmet could be required. If the bike displaces more than 50 cc's or is capable of 30 miles an hour or greater, then eyewear approved by DHSMV must be worn. Either goggles, face shields designed for and as part of approved helmets, eyeglasses, and sunglasses. a motorcycle windshield does not qualify for eye protection. When documenting crashes, it is extremely important to properly indicate both helmet and eye protection on the crash report. We encourage you to download the brochure on this DVD regarding the identification of DOT-approved helmets. We'd also like to make you aware of some confusing statutes. For example, a person under 16 may not operate a motorcycle that displaces over 150 cc's. And a person under 16 may not operate or ride a moped without protective headgear. Though under Chapter 322, a person under 16 cannot operate a motorcycle or moped at all. So don't be confused. Those under 16 should not ever be driving these vehicles. Now that we've discussed the licensing and driving laws concerning the different types of vehicles, here is some tactical information that will improve your chances for successful traffic stops and personal safety. Make sure, however, you follow your own department's policies and procedures. Before activating your emergency lights or siren, conduct your radio traffic and call in the tag number.
1050 on Alpha Delta Quebec 2955. It's a white Honda motorcycle at Lake Worth and Jog.
When possible, do not activate your emergency lights or siren until you are directly behind the motorcycle. The motorcyclist may not be so quick to try and elude you. When pulled over, use the PA to tell the driver to turn off the engine and stay on the bike.
Rider, stay on your bike, turn your engine off, put your kickstand down, stand by.
You'll be able to tell when the engine is off because the stoplight will be off. This may reduce someone's inclination to run. Helmets can be used as weapons. The motorcycle driver should be asked to remain on the motorcycle with his helmet on to avoid a headbutt or having the helmet thrown at you.
That's driver's license and registration. The reason I stopped you is
Additional containers other than saddlebags can be used to conceal weapons. Keep an eye out. When motorcyclists are riding and stopping in groups, call them back to you one at a time to maximize your safety. Unfortunately, many car and truck drivers are the cause of violent or fatal motorcycle crashes. The most common causes are when drivers fail to yield the right-of-way, at a stop sign, or when they are emerging from a building or driveway, or when they are turning left in front of approaching traffic. Enforce these moving violations every chance you get. Complacency among drivers and their failure to look twice also contribute to the documented rising statistics of injury and death to motorcyclists. After all, our intent with this presentation is to effect positive change in Florida's rising motorcycle crash problem. Since 1999, crashes have more than doubled. The amount of people injured has nearly tripled, and the amount of people killed in a motorcycle crash has in fact tripled. Armed with the knowledge you need, all of your efforts to make our roadways safer can begin to make a difference.
put your kickstand down for me.
You are the eyes and ears of Florida motorcyclists. Yes, they need to follow the law, but they also need your help to look out for their safety. On behalf of the Florida Department of Transportation, thanks for your time and attention. Additional information is available on the state's comprehensive motorcycle safety website, ridesmartflorida.com. Also available on this DVD are downloadable documents for your quick reference. These include answers to frequently asked questions provided by the Division of Driver's Licensing, a quick reference guide to Florida traffic laws, the detection of DWI motorcyclists, how to identify unsafe motorcycle helmets, Florida's Motorcycle Safety Strategic Plan, and a document with links to other internet resources.